program contains material that viewers may find unsuitable for younger children. A parental control system is advised. The following program contains opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special presentation of Get Real, where we want to give you an update with regard to the current situation here in the country. As the entire nation is being ravaged by Cyclone Ditwa, and we are now waking up to the aftermath of that cyclone. In reality, disasters are nothing new to this country. We've been battered since the tsunami. Right throughout in history, we've been experiencing natural disasters over and over again, and here we are once again being put to the ringer in order to recover and to come back strong. Now, in order to prior to doing that, we had to get an assessment as to where we are. Cyclone Ditwa passed around Sri Lanka, across Sri Lanka during Friday and Saturday, and right now it is completely depleted. It has made landfall in southern India, and now it's no longer a cyclone. Now it has become a part of history. But what remains right now is the whole recovery effort that we have to undergo. In order to get a picture of where we are as a nation, tonight I've invited the media spokesperson for the Disaster Management Center, Mr. Pradeep Kodippili. Welcome to the program. Thank you for being here. And also Dr. Athula Liyanapathirana. He is the consultant and community physician at the Epidemiology Unit at the Ministry of Health. Welcome to the program, Doctor. Really appreciate it. One of the reasons why I brought Dr. Athula is to give you a sense of what's going to come up next, because despite the fact that the cyclone is over, the real tragedy, the real challenge is just raising its ugly head. Right after this, we know through experience that a health crisis is imminent, and we need to make sure that we prepare for that as well. Before that, let me get an idea from Mr. Pradeep Kodippili with regard to the current situation in the country. Where are we? I think this is the first time in a longer period. The tsunami also did not affect it the way it has affected right now, because yes, all 9 provinces are completely affected. I mean, we saw a map which was just painted in red, yes, showcasing. So it's unprecedented. So in a situation like that, Mr. Kodippili, where are we right now when you are taking account into what has happened?
Yeah, as you correctly mentioned, because in tsunami we had, because only 14 districts were affected, but right now around the country, 25 whole districts being totally affected, even the mid part of the country being heavily affected. So at the moment, the affected people been identified as more than 1 million people been affected around the country, and also 355 deaths still, and 370 still missing.
This figure will go up.
Yeah, definitely, because these figures has to be updated. So because sometimes getting the data from districts, sometimes there is a small delay because they are working and they are busy as well at the ground level. So there are a lot to do at the district level, and the safety centers, around 1,500 safety centers, that's a massive number of safety centers. Managing these safety centers, all our officials would be totally dedicated and totally busy at that moment. And around 190,000 people still been temporarily accommodating these locations, because relief missions have been conducted, because a lot of houses have been totally damaged and submerged, inundated. And the roads been totally blocked at the moment, and also in the newer area, most of the roads are cut off right now. But the A9 road is open right now, but the Kandy could be accessible now right now. So even today also we are with the support of the Air Force, we are sending all the food and all to the Kandy district with the helicopter. And likewise the situation was very bad, but here also where the Kalani River at the downstream of the Kalani River area also totally been inundated. People have been evacuated right now for the safe evacuation centers. But hopefully the rain is totally not been recorded so much in these 2 days. But in Matale and other areas been recorded more than 900 millimeters of rain. It's like maybe the whole year sometimes we are not getting such kind of rain in somewhere in the country. But within a few days and few hours time, so such kind of a heavy and very strong rainfall been recorded. So there is a situation in the country, but the relief missions are being conducted. But disaster management center and also other tri-forces police, they have been totally fully engaged with the government sector, government engagement as well, district officials, district secretaries, and all been totally engaged with that current person.
In order to get an assessment, what are the mechanisms you all are using right now? Because I know a lot of villages are still not being accessed that have been affected. We get reports continuously saying that we are stranded, and in certain areas there have been lots of landslides reported as well. So we really don't know the real picture as of now. So how are you getting into those areas and making sure those people are recovered and make sure that they're brought to safety?
Normally, because we have district officials and they know prior to that plan, they know where the vulnerable areas, and also most of those areas in Nuwareli and Kandy somewhere as Matale, so they have been inundated. Sometimes the roads been cut off, but with the support of the Air Force, we provided the food as well. But the thing is, sometimes the communication, if the communication fails in that particular area, there might be a huge issue. But we're trying to maintain communication because 117 is totally open for these people, and with that particular information, we are accessing to all these locations. But still, there are really some locations, but there are a lot of calls, maybe around 30,000 calls coming every day for the 117 call center. More than around 200 people, they are still working for that. So every call, because we are following every call, because when the people call in, they are asking some information, sometimes the accessibility, sometimes the food, sometimes the medical help, likewise. So we are coordinating all the sectors, but still there are some issues at Nuwareli and sometimes some areas in Kandy as well as in Matale. But I think the inundated and submerged and trapped areas been totally identified, the people been connected. But at the first few hours with the disaster, so there might be a huge issue. But after that, so that is now it's going a little bit low.
I want to get a little bit of a picture later on in the discussion with regard to the preparation for this, because that is a very grey area at the moment. But right now, in terms of those calls, because most of our reporters who are down on the ground, they keep speaking to the people in those areas, and one of the recurring things that the people are saying is that we inform the officials, but nobody came to help, and we still don't have help. So my question to you is, do you have enough resources to mitigate this at this moment?
Yeah, for the moment, at the first few hours of the disaster, we are providing food, that means the cooked meal. And also, we have enough resources at the moment. It's not a problem. But the thing is that when they are going back to their home, post-disaster situation is sometimes getting a little bit the more work to be done. So all the house has been totally inundated with the muddy water and all, and so the wells been inundated. But for the moment, we can manage with the people who are living right now in the safety centers, because a lot of people supporting, even the India and the Pakistan, they came yesterday and the day before yesterday for the rescue missions. But the government, because disaster management center is not only working for just after the disaster, because we have a district plan, district discussions before the tsunami, before the cyclone situation, even before the monsoon situation, even before the bad weather situations, because with the Med Department prediction, we have a plan there So all the official stakeholders been connected together, having discussions. If such kind of a situation happen, what we'll do. So that's why the government agent, that means this secretary, has been provided with the financial support and also other relief support as well for to start this process. With the start, we can proceed with that one. National Disaster Relief Services Center with us, so they are working and supporting that one. So the cook meal and other things are not there's no any problem. But the health sector, because we have a special disaster management unit in the health sector, and so they have been coordinated, and all the doctors and all, they are working for that one as well. So for the moment it's managed, but we are asking continuously to the people, if there is a delay, if there is a problem, just call 117. All the calls are being followed by our officials, and we are getting all the support for these communities as well.
That is a good point to come to Dr. Athula. Dr. Athula, right now, one of the things that we have to be in the lookout for, which is going to be the second wave of this disaster, is the health crisis. Definitely vector-borne diseases are going to go up, and we will see a rise in cholera, we will see a rise in dengue, and we will see a rise in all these kinds of diseases going up especially in these vulnerable communities. Now, it's not just saying, okay, this particular area is vulnerable, that particular area. Now, this is the whole country, the entire nation, 9 provinces are right now affected. What exactly are you all planning on right now from the Ministry of Health per se, looking at the structure of things and looking at data from history, and after a cyclonic event like this, what exactly is the plan?
Yeah, actually, Mahieash, we have had this experience before, and as you very correctly said, like it has affected the entire country across the board. So there are no safe areas except for a few areas in the southern province. So previously, we did was sometimes we channeled resources from other districts and other areas, but this time we are not able to do that because everyone is affected. So, but we have a clear plan. The hospital system is being restored. The supplies are there. So that is one thing, and more than that, what is more looming is an outbreak of communicable diseases, as very correctly said, like vector-borne diseases, leptospirosis, and food and waterborne diseases, diarrhea. Luckily, we don't have cholera in Sri Lanka, luckily, fortunately. And also,
would that be a concern in the future?
Not really, but there's always a risk, because some of the neighboring countries still have cholera, but we don't have. We haven't had for a few decades now. And the respiratory diseases. These are the main. And
why I asked that was, Doctor, because in previous scenarios, yes, it was just one part of the country, so it's manageable. Now it's not. I mean, the entire country is affected.
Yes.
All water systems are completely diluted, and they are contaminated. We can safely say that it is contaminated. Even the drinking water, there could be an issue that we need to really closely watch. So in a scenario like that, things that we never thought might come back. So is there a risk of that?
Yes, there is always a small risk, but that's not a very big risk. But more than that, there are other common conditions like just watery diarrhea, and maybe like blood and mucus diarrhea, and even typhoid. So we have a mechanism in place, clear mechanism in place. We have 28 regional epidemiologists in all the districts, and we have a network of MOHs, medical officers of health, 358 of them, and we have a very good network of public health inspectors. So through them, we keep on screening these people. We keep on visiting these safe centers or IDP centers where people are congregated, and we screen them and look for any symptoms and signs of these diseases, and we whatever possible to be treated on site will be treated, and others will be definitely taken to hospitals wherever there is a risk of a local outbreak within the center. So, and supplies, I think some of the areas are still inaccessible, but they themselves are up to a certain extent self-reliant with the available supplies, so they manage within those areas. But whenever possible, like we will definitely, when the roads are clear, we'll be definitely accessing them and sending them more supplies.
Medical supplies. We have enough medical supplies to treat these types of diseases that are going to come after an incident like this?
Yes, at the moment we do have.
There was a conversation prior saying that stocks-wise we are a little bit lower on certain drugs. is these the types of drugs that you all are lower on?
No, not really. We are mainly concerned about oral rehydration solutions, Jeevani, for instance, and doxycycline. Now we took a stock a couple of days ago, so all the districts are having enough stocks. So in those areas we are okay. Even the hospitals, I think they are self-sufficient as far as the diseases that the situation can give rise to control those diseases. I think we are okay.
Mr. Kodippili, with regard to, I want to come back into one of the questions that keeps rising, is that why wasn't the public notified prior? Because we did not see press conferences occurring prior to the cyclone, maybe like on Wednesday, maybe on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that particular period. As soon as it happened, then we saw the mechanisms of the Disaster Management Center or the Disaster Management Ministry coming into play, and then they are talking to the public. But the early warning would have been very much crucial at that particular moment, because we do have the systems. I know the Disaster Management Ministry has been working continuously every year. This is not something new to you all. So why wasn't steps being taken? Was it like, didn't you all assess that this cyclone is going to be stronger, or what exactly was the issue there?
That started from the 16th of the November. So we got the information from the meteorological department, because disaster management center is depending with the technical information. But with that, we continuously informed the media, and we had a press conference on the Tuesday, special press conference in our the premises, and summoning all the media to that particular area, and informed the information department as well every time. And we expected the rain on 24th and 25th, because the Met department that has been predicted, and that was disseminated to the ground level people as well. Even the red notice, because most of the deaths been occurred due to the landslide situation, the cutting failures as well. But the thing is, the NBR, National Building and Research Organization, they are issuing the yellow warning, we call the alert. So alert was given to the people. Alert is just to be alert. So that might be happen because Met Department predicted that cyclone is coming towards us. Then the second warning issued to the amber color warning, so prepare for the evacuations. And we notified with because we have a early warning system.
I understand that mechanism. That is very good for us to understand. But does the people living on those particular areas are aware of that? And was there a mechanism to go into those communities? Press conferences, yes, that really helps. But going with loudspeakers and telling people on the ground level, it is very much vital at that particular moment.
Definitely.
So did that happen?
Yes. Actually, because every year we are purchasing the equipment for the community equipments. So low cost early warning mechanisms, hand sirens. So with that particular equipment, we informed the people, even the landslide. So all these 14,000 families been prior identified. So whether they are in the red zone, whether they are in the high risk zone, or whether they are in the middle risk or the low risk zones. So they know where they are in the red zone. So they have been given the warning, because in the district level, we have a district disaster management units. There is a separate early warning mechanism to these people from the district level communities. So that is important. So if you survey with that one, all these people got the messages for the evacuation. Even I have the red notice where it's been given. There are many areas the NBRO not issuing at first, issuing the first one, the alert, and it's going to be a little bit more. For the evacuation, red notice already been alerted. And they have been, like you clearly mentioned, with the loudspeakers, because we are working military at the police, same office. So we have a separate mechanism at the ground level how to inform to the people. That was inactive, because that was acted. That is, the people got the messages. But every disaster situation, some of the communities not evacuating from these locations.
One of the things I think we've learned from the tsunami, and I think it actually happened last month, you all keep exercising drills.
Yes.
So even early warning drills were still done up until I think October. There was one in October and early November. So haven't we learned from that? Because why I'm asking this is the areas, if you look at, that is prone towards landslides are still the same in most instances, if there is a weather-related issue, like if you take Kegol, Aranayaka, those particular areas are very well known towards landslide. We get the same amount of areas in Nuwara, in Kandy. These are areas that are very well known prone towards landslide. So why not tell those communities? And one of the things that we did during the tsunami is that we demarcated an area from the sea, from the shore,
buffer zone.
a buffer zone.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So was that done prior?
So let me clarify that. For tsunami, there is a, because even I myself affected with the tsunami, I know that situation as well. And the CCD, Coastal Conservation Department, they announced a 100-meter buffer zone just after the tsunami. But if you go to the coastal area, you cannot find maybe 100 centimeter, because everywhere the constructions happen. I think these authorities, every authority has to get that legal aspects as well. And for the landslide, identified this area, because sometimes the NBR or the National Building Research Organization, they cannot resettle all these 14,000 families in one time. They are resettling. There are a lot of resettlements done. But the thing is, so they have been given the land, they have been given the money, 2.5 million to these families. They construct a home, but they are living in the old home and they are hiring the new home. That was very prominent in the particular areas. So
you're talking about landslides.
Landslide, right? So I think the legal aspect has to be well coordinated to even for the demolition the old home as it is in the red zone. So there should be some kind of a mechanism. I think that the government officials that need to do.
But that is not in effect right now.
Yeah, because a lot of areas, so they got the home, but they are living in the old home. That was, so if you go to that particular areas, so they know, because in every time evacuation drills are being conducted for landslides, because around 300 awareness programs are mainly in every year we are conducting for the landslide and the tsunami and flood, because drought is a long-term disaster situation. And the roads, the safer roads being identified. Okay, when a kind of a red note is being issued, you need to use this road. And safe location sometimes could be there, because there is no any dedicated evacuation shelters. But we identified maybe the temple, sometimes the schools, they are in a safe location. They have been identified, and the drills have been totally conducted with the community and all affected vulnerable community. So that is there. Sometimes everywhere in this world, so at this kind of a situation, so sometimes the situation could more come because very heavy rainfall occurred in a very few hours time.
That's what, didn't you all anticipate that?
That is depend on the technical information. That is depend on the meteorological forecast. That is depend on the NBRO forecast. So if there is an anticipation, that's why the red note is issued. So they have been warned for the evacuation. Shelters were established. Food were arranged, and the money already been released to the district secretaries, division secretaries, or the Gram Nildaris, and all been informed this kind of situation will occur. But the thing is, evacuation has to be done. But by force in evacuation, we cannot do by force evacuation.
But during that buffer zone, there was a period where forced evacuations occurred after the buffer zone was set, and then legal aspect of was passed. That has not happened in a scenario.
That is for the tsunami.
Yeah.
But for the landsliding, many areas are some. That's why the NBRO, National Building and Research Organization, every people there, when they're constructing the house in that particular areas, they need to get the permission, the certificate for the safetiness of that particular land. But most of the areas, they haven't. So they are constructing a home, they are constructing another home, cutting the slope in bad way. That is a very good example for that one as well.
Exactly. There are lots of lessons to be learned from this disaster as well, where we can actually tweak it a little bit for future events, and to make sure that we are safeguarding our communities to make sure that they are well protected. Let's take a short commercial break. I want to talk about a little bit about the economic aspect of it, and also how the health sector will be affected by this going forward. What is going to happen in the next 2 weeks? 3 weeks, 2 months, 3 months down the line, what exactly is the picture going to look in this country? Because the rainy season might be picking up or it might not be right now. But then the health crisis, that is the thing that we have to be really concerned about, because just because whether you are affected by the weather event or not, the health crisis might. So is the government ready for that as well? And the health ministry is coordinating those efforts and making those things possible. Let's take a short commercial break. You're watching Get Real with Derana. Welcome back everyone to Get Real. I'm in conversation now with Dr. Athula Liyanapathirana, consultant community physician at the Epidemiology unit at the Ministry of Health, and also Pradeep Kodippili. He is the media spokesperson for the Disaster Management Center. One of the information that really came out this morning is saying that this particular crisis, the current Ditwa cyclonic crisis which we are now in at the moment, the aftermath of it, might hit around 31 billion rupees to our economy. Now, it might go into restoration of agriculture, livelihoods, and the number is the initial assessment, but this number will definitely skyrocket. And how are we going to basically manage that with an ailing economy? I want to discuss a little bit about that, but prior to that, Doctor, let me come to you. Now, community health is one of the areas that you're totally focusing on. Right now, we know that in terms when, if you take COVID, when we saw an uptick of numbers and when they were brought into hospitals, certain hospitals could not accommodate those numbers. Now, if you take a look at the most affected areas like Nuwara, Athula, Kandy, all those areas, do you think those community hospitals, not the main ones, but the community hospitals, the rural areas one, are they having the capacity and the know-how and the medications and the supplies in order to basically treat their own communities and take care of the issue on a ground level rather than escalating to a higher level?
At the moment, yes, as far as like human resources and supplies are concerned, and we take a daily update on the communicable diseases through our MOH network and through the PHIs. We take a daily update on the communicable diseases from all the districts. So up to now, there aren't many like outbreaks as such reported in the safety camps and or in the communities. So
in this stage, what kind of diseases would you expect?
Yes, that's a very good question. I was going to come to that, because the main things we would look at is the diarrheal diseases, the food and waterborne diseases which could transmit through drinking water and spoiled food. And the second one is leptospirosis. Although it's low in numbers, it could lead to very serious outcomes, even death. Now, a few months ago, we had an outbreak flood in Jaffna, and it resulted in a few deaths also, the leptospirosis. Then thirdly, the respiratory diseases, as I mentioned, because the dampness, wetness, and the weather, and also the fact that the people are clustering in numbers in these centers, so-called centers, can give rise to respiratory diseases. And as the water levels go down, can lead to water accumulations of water collections, puddles, maybe large ones, smaller ones. So this can definitely give rise to vector-borne diseases like dengue and even chikungunya. And lastly, although it's not serious, can be a nuisance, skin diseases, the fungal skin diseases. So now that is the only condition that was reported in numbers,
especially in the feet.
Yes, in feet, and even tinea in your groins and in your armpits, axilla. So due to the wetness and people are a lot of people are in a small space using the same facilities, sharing the same facilities. So these things can give rise to local outbreaks. So at the moment, according to the numbers being reported, the numbers are well manageable. Actually, I would say they are
But
kind of,
doctor, this is going to skyrocket, right?
but it will, unless we stick to the precautionary measures. That's why they are very simple things. I mean, they're very, very simple things. For instance, for preventing food and waterborne diseases, one thing is the drinking water. So we're always trying to stick to our basic thing, try to have boiled cool water, which may not be very practical in this scenario. But we have seen, but as far as possible, wherever it's possible, we are actually focusing on three main groups. First group is the people who are in safety centers or like IDP centers. Second group are the people who are affected and in their own homes or like maybe in their relatives' homes. Third group is the unaffected people. So they also have a role to play here. We'll come to that in a moment. So the main thing is to use boiled cool water whenever possible, or to use bottled water. Now we've seen bottled water being supplied to all these places, to be very careful about drinking water. Then it comes to food. To consider the food prep.
Just one clarification. Are you saying bottled water, people have to be careful about that?
No. They have to be careful about drinking unboiled and unbottled water. Like
so bottled water is a safety option.
Safe option. Very safe option. When it comes to food, we've seen like cooked food being provided. So that's inevitable in a situation like this.
Yeah.
So the people who prepare food will have to be very careful. Anyone having a diarrheal disease or any illness should not get involved in any form of food preparation, cooking, packing or distributing. So that is one thing. And the other thing, as far as possible, try to donate dry rations rather than cooked food, because freshly cooked food is the best thing to avoid these foodborne things. And people sometimes through desperation they tend to preserve some food for the next meal.
Yeah.
So we should not be done, right? So we should consume the cooked food in the same meal and discard whatever the remnant of his anything is left behind. So that is for foodborne. And for leptospirosis, again, it's a very dangerous disease. It spreads through urine of contaminated urine with animals, maybe rats, maybe cattle and other animals. So they basically enter through cuts and wounds in the hands and feet, and also through mucous membranes. So if you're having cuts and wounds in your hand and feet, better not get involved in this kind of activity. And the people who have already got exposed to flood water, they are also at high risk. So we are in the process of distributing prophylactic medicine, that is doxycycline 200 milligrams. It's a one-time stat dose, repeated weekly. So this has been distributed by the MOH officers through the PHIs. So please, everyone who has got exposed to flood waters, please take this.
What's the assessment? I mean, like, if you have gone in flood waters, or how could a person know, hey, I might be at risk from getting any of this?
Yeah.
Should I get myself checked?
Actually, there's no way of checking, right? So this is a prophylactic treatment to prevent you from getting it. So if you are exposed to flood water, especially if you are having wounds, bruises in your feet and your hands, and got exposed to flood waters.
So wearing slippers and walking in flood waters,
they have to take. But you have to mention about the contraindications as well. So this is not given to children under age of 12 years, not given to pregnant mothers and breastfeeding mothers, and also not contraindicated in people with kidney disease and severe liver disease. So these are the contraindications. Others, if they are exposed to flood waters, they have to get. Second one is leptospirosis is always better treated if it is diagnosed at early stages. So if you are having any symptoms and signs of leptospirosis, which are high fever, body ache, severe headache and that kind of thing, you should not be taking home remedies and staying home. Even if you are at camp or at home, you should contact the health authorities and immediately seek medical help. So that is the most important thing. Earlier it is detected, better will be the outcomes. So especially when as the flood waters go down, people will be going back to their homes to clean them up. So this is where the situation get even worse.
So wearing gloves and protective
boots
gear.
wherever possible, and to take the prophylaxis, and also to be careful with other things like
is that particular awareness is occurring in the community level?
Yes, very much for all the camps, and we are even this morning we were preparing some social media messages, basic messages, and even at the moment we have prepared some like this.
Yeah.
So these are being distributed through social media posts and whatever media like channels possible. Only thing is now the people who are the target audience may not be in a position to access this information.
Yeah.
So anyone like who has access and having relatives or near and dear in these places, please convey these messages to them, so they'll benefit from these messages.
Mr. Pradeep, I want to come down to one particular point where the doctor was saying when they go back after this entire crisis, I mean, let's say usually it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the resettlement starts to occur. I think that is the latter stage of this recovery efforts. So initially now we are in the middle of assessing what's happening and taking into account, and now the next stage is going to be the resettlement phase. So when the resettlement phase comes and when people go back into homes, now even the NBRO has issued a warning saying not to return to homes until they've done an assessment. Now, what exactly is the assessment is being done, and where is it done? Is it just the landslide prone areas or all around the country?
Most of the landslide prone areas, yes. Normally the flood, because we know the flood zones and they have been mapped, but they need to check on the landslide prone areas mainly. So because of flood we have time, because flood is not like landslide, it's it's very difficult situation sometimes to provide the warning exactly the specific place for the landslides. The soil situation, underground situation, soil texture, structure, even the rainfall situation, because now the rainfall situation will trigger the landslide. But if you consider about the soil structure and the texture, so that will be sometimes a different story. That's why the NBRO, they are checking that particular affected area.
Are you all aware of every area that has experienced a landslide, or are you still gathering that information?
Actually, that situation is changing sometimes, because primarily around 14,000 houses been identified, families who are living in the particular area. So that means the high risk, medium risk and the low risk together. But with the people's activity, sometimes that the prone to the landslide situation will sometimes change. There is sometimes cutting the slopes in bad way, they are not getting instructions. So that trigger will be, and also the most of the people that they are setting the fires to the wild areas. So a lot of in the dry situation we have a lot of wildfires. As people setting the fires to that one, because there's no any natural fire in Sri Lanka like California now. So that, but exposing all these things to the landslide, all these mountains to the landslides. So these are maybe acres and thousands of acres every year. I think for my knowledge, I think more than 100 places been set the fire because of the people. They are trying to catch the animals and they are trying to get some kind of extra benefits from that one. That's why some of these people they set in the fire. So like these things will occur, but sometimes the nature, sometimes the climate change, the people's activity. That's a mixture of the answers for that one as well. So that is there.
With regard to the recovery efforts, agriculture, livestock, all these kinds of livelihoods have been destroyed. I think the assessment is yet to be done in order to figure out as to how much it is. What exactly is the cost, and does the ministry, the disaster management center, not the disaster management center per se, but the ministry itself, would it be going into the next stage of recovery efforts and helping these people out, or is that a bigger effort by the government in a separate way?
Actually, so for the house damages, so about the assessors will come to their houses and assessing, and after the assessment, so the funds will be released, because with the assessment, with the as per the damage, and also for the death compensations, I think 1 million will be provided to all the deaths. And the meals and dry rations
per member or
per one person.
For one, I mean, like if there are like 2-3 people who has been
Same
killed,
family.
all 3 will get.
Yes, all 3 will get the money.
All just one family per.
No, all 3 will get. All 3 or 4, all for one death. So it will be, compensation will be given by 1 million rupees, and the cooked meals will be provided after the few days. Cooked meal, then dry rations will be provided. Likewise, there are a lot of the pre-disaster activities. Like for an example, I would say we had the rail area. So there's a landslide in 2014 or 15 somewhere. So I myself attended that one. So when we are going, so all these people were evacuated, and they are in a safe evacuation center, and they have the food because we have said their pre-disaster situation. They got the food from one of the cooperative shops, and they cooked their meals, and so that was very planned. So these kind of situations are there, but the thing is sometimes they are not practicing. Sometimes some people are, like the doctor clearly mentioned, the perceptions has to be well corrected.
That is a good point that you made, Mr. Kodippili, with regard to people's awareness of it, because not during the disaster or after the disaster, it has to happen prior to the disaster. Definitely. And that early warning mechanisms are very vital in saving lives, because the idea here is to save lives and not about saving structures or buildings or anything like that. It is mostly targeted towards saving lives. So why are we on a repetitive mode? Because every time there is a landslide, a flood, any kind of natural disaster that occurs in this country is very much prone to natural disasters. So without learning from that, we see this particular repetitive mode that is occurring from the people's end and also from the authorities' end as well. Because right now, for us to take an assessment, all the data, I know you all have it. I know all assessments are occurring. What is the misconnection here from the data point towards people acting on it?
So the thing is, prior to disaster, because normally, like I said a little bit earlier, the disaster management center is working for the preparedness activities and the awareness activities, the preparation of these communities, because with that technical information, vulnerability, so we prepare the communities even for the evacuation, even for the urgent evacuation. So that data is needed. That means technical data is needed. So even for the landslide, normally we are conducting, not only for the landslides, we are conducting around 300-400 awareness programs in particular areas. Most of the areas, because I myself participated, and drills were normally conducted. And the preparation.
Just one point to make. I think you remember the Aranayaka landslide.
Yes, Aranayaka. Yeah.
So that particular, the example that I'm trying to make is now the Aranayaka landslide that happened. Samasara was the Samasara mountain. When it went down, the people, that entire village was completely, engulfed with mud. And after that, those communities were very much educated, and they were told this thing. Now this time, it's not that particular mountain, it's the mountain on the other side. Yeah. So here, again, people are affected. So that message of, basically treating and telling those people in that particular village, it worked, but it did not go beyond that to the next mountain and to the village that lives adjacent to that, for them to be safeguarded as well. Because then they come back and say, we still don't know whether they are alive or how many houses have been collapsed or completely covered with landslide mud.
So, for an example, we had the rock fall in the upper lower Kaduganna area. So all these were given instructions for the.
You're talking about that happened very recently.
Very recently. So they not, because they are not,
because there was a shop right underneath.
Yes. So if you go to the all photos of this shop, you can have a very small shop there. Then after that, they are setting 3 or 4 stairs. So there is that, even the
why wasn't the officials taking action?
That is that the NBR and ourselves, we can provide the warnings and all. But the local authorities, even if you go to the Kalani River Basin, so you can see all the people settlements are there just on the river. They have been given the electricity, they have been given the water, they have a house number, they have the water rights and all. Who gave this one? I'm always saying all the authorities has to work together to protect these the prime location.
Disaster Management Center is the crucial point that actually can do that.
We can coordinate. We can coordinate. But the thing is, legally, we cannot take actions there.
So
local authorities, most of the local authorities had that power. Local authorities had the most, because even your house, my house, because we are paying the taxes, and also they have that legal, because when you are constructing a house, you need to get the permission of the NBR, or you need to get the permission of the local authorities. Then who gives that? The power is there with them. They need to work on that one.
Indeed. Doctor, I want to come to you quickly. We were talking about early warning and how to prepare communities. Now, is that happening in the same manner? Because now one of the challenges Mr. Pradeep was talking about was that, yes, they can give the information, but if nobody is taking action, then there's no point about the information being provided. Is that the same with this health crisis?
As far as health conditions are concerned, people are slightly more kind of compliant with the instructions we give. But just to add, my opinion to the topic we are discussing, awareness alone per se will not change behavior, right?
What will change?
So, you have to look at the root causes. So we need to get in my opinion as a public health person, we need to get the involvement of behavioral scientists and sociologists and do a real qualitative root cause analysis to see why these people are, after being warned so many times very clearly, having first-hand experiences sometimes, why they are taking a risk behavior. So there could be root causes that we have not yet perceived. So I think it's high time we should do kind of a real root cause analysis for this risk behavior.
I don't know whether Mr. Pradeep remembers after the tsunami, I think one of the organizations that I used to work prior, we did an analysis of why one of the things we found out, despite the fact that after the tsunami, houses were built away from the sea and provided to these communities. We found out after 6 months, when we go back, you see them completely renting out that particular property that has been provided to them away from the shore, and then they go back into the hut and create a small hut and live near the sea again. Now, in a scenario like that, when we asked, one of the information they said, well, we are not used to these types of housing, and so that is a good point that you're making, but then there has to be a collective effort by all authorities in order to make sure that we move on towards safeguarding lives. Let's take a short commercial break. I want to come back and get closing remarks from both these individuals with regard to the current situation in the country and what exactly to expect as we move on beyond the disaster phase. This is Get Real. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Get Real. I'm in conversation now with Dr. Athula Liyanapathirana, consultant community physician at the Epidemiology Unit at the Ministry of Health, and also the media spokesperson of the Disaster Management Center, Pradeep Kodippili. This is the final few minutes of this program. Doctor, anyone who's watching, what exactly is the advice you have? Because this particular health crisis which we are talking about, which we know through experience from previous instances, it is yet to come, but if you take precautionary measures now, you can safeguard a lot of pain to yourself or to your families or to your loved ones. So what exactly do you have to say to the public going forward, next 2 weeks, 1 month down the line?
Yeah, exactly. I think at the moment, fortunately, we don't have any, communicable diseases, the ones I mentioned, diarrheal diseases, leptospirosis, dengue and respiratory diseases and skin diseases. We don't have in large numbers, only a sporadic cases report from here and there. So we should try to maintain the status quo. And the precautions are very simple ones. The one that I forgot to mention was hand washing. Before consuming your food and after using the toilet, you properly wash your hand with soap and water. And as I said before, we have to be careful about drinking water, to try and drink boiled cool water or bottled water as far as possible. Then about the cooked food, to consume them fresh. And also if you're having
one of the things about cooked food, let me ask this before, because I think the Disaster Management Center also earlier said there's a lot of tendency. This is out of the goodness of our people's hearts. Yes. They used to cook the food and send it across, and mostly people do not know from how it was prepared or what exactly, and there could be contamination that could occur. In centers, do you all advise food that is being brought from outside to be consumed, or is it better to consume the food that you know exactly is cooked within your premises?
That is the ideal situation, but in a crisis situation like this, sometimes people are desperate. So when people bring in food, practically you can't turn them back. So ideally the origin should be able to be traced back to, but which is not happening. I mean, you can see even some people come and donate out of goodwill just 10 parcels, 5 packs of food. So people collect them together and bring them to affected people. So in a real crisis situation, so it's sometimes unavoidable, right? But the best thing is to cook food at site, or cook food in a place like organized by the local authorities, and consume that food afresh without having a delay. So when you collect food, there definitely a lag period between the cooking and the consumption. So during that period there could be pathogens developing in the food and causing various diarrheal diseases. And comes to respiratory, I mean lepto, again I want leptospirosis, want to stress about it. If you're having symptoms of leptospirosis, high fever, body aches, headache, vomiting,
especially during this
period, please seek care immediately without taking home remedies and waiting to see what happens. Then respiratory diseases, again as you correctly mentioned, there's influenza going around. So in respiratory disease could be influenza. So if you're having symptoms of respiratory disease, again please inform the health authorities. And the person who is having the illness may wear a mask to prevent the other people from getting it if possible, and try not to get mingled with the other people. If you're having symptoms, try to be separate as much as possible. And as far as vector-borne diseases, dengue is concerned, always make sure that you control your environment to get rid of all the breeding sites. Larger breeding sites where you can't individually do it, you definitely have to get the support of the public health people, PHIs, MOHs, and there are chemicals that have been distributed to prevent the larvae from breeding. So definitely, so the breeding site, the source reduction has to be done. Otherwise, dengue, with the monsoon rains coming mid next month, it's going to be a big problem.
Mr. Kodippili, how long do you think it will take for us to get back to normalcy of the after, especially in these affected areas? Do you think usually it looks like 2 weeks, but is it more this time?
I think because road clearance, I think as per the RDA that they will clear all these roads within 10 to 12 days time sometime, but it will take a little bit. Some areas could recover a little bit soon, but some areas I think we need to construct their houses, sometimes provide the funds, and when even if they are not moving as per the instructions given by the NBRO, so they need to have kind of another lines. So that depends on. And also I would say just to advise for the people, sometimes landslide will not occur at once, but there are some signs, pre-signs. Starting tree, muddy springs come. Sometimes muddy springs will disappear or appear, whatever. So these, if somebody sees some kind of the signs of these things, so they can move from these locations, because every disaster sometimes gives us kind of a signs prior to disaster, even for the tsunami or what was resetted. So likewise, if any clue on this one, so people can call 117, because we are prepared. We can manage 3 languages. All the instructions, information, roadblocks, and all being provided by the disaster management center.
Very quickly, do you expect another system to develop in the next few weeks? Or because there is a lot of rumors that is going around on social media saying there is another disaster impending.
Yeah. But as per the Med Department, they also clearly mentioned. So I think with this week or maybe within 10 days time, there might not be any such situation. But after 10 days, there might be the intermonsoonal rain will occur at the evening time.
But towards cyclonic.
Cyclone situations, they are not, because cyclones sometimes within 5 or 6 days they can predict, but before maybe 2 or 3 weeks sometimes they cannot predict that from you.
Indeed. My appreciation to Mr. Pradeep Kodippili, the media spokesperson for the Disaster Management Center, and also Dr. Athula Liyanapathirana, the consultant community physician and epidemiology unit at the Ministry of Health. Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much, Mr. Pradeep Kodippili, for coming on the program and sharing those views. Well, stay safe. That's all the message that we can give you. Heed to the health advice that is being provided. And if you do not know, I think you can visit the website. If you can mention it quickly, Doctor.
Epidemiology unit website, you can just type Epidemiology unit Ministry of Health and you can access it by.
Exactly. So you can access all that information on the Epidemiology unit website of the Ministry of Health. Just Google it.
Bureau. And of the Health Promotion Bureau website.
Exact. The Health Promotion Bureau, I think they also are on social media, so you can just search their name, the Health Promotion Bureau, and you will get a lot of information right now how to stay safe. And if you know people who are in these prone areas, please heed to the advice that is being provided by health officials, main importantly the NBRO officials, especially in landslide prone areas, and ensure that you stay safe and your family stays safe. That's all the time we have for you tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. We'll be back next week with another episode of Get Real. See you then. Bye for now.